and welcome to this week's Data Burst. And in this one, we're going to be talking about deployment. A lot of people say that deployment is where you either win or you lose, which I don't actually think it is. But with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to try and have a quick chat about deployment, how to deploy, ideas, all that kind of stuff, theories that we use for deployment that may or may not help you. And as always, if you've got a different point of view, which you normally do, pop it in the comments below and we can have a chat about it later. So without further ado, I've got my two good friends, Stormshroud and Ogre.
Hi guys.
Hello.
And so let's get straight onto it. Now, I've kind of written a couple of questions. So let's kind of start there and see where the ramble takes us. So when you set up second, guys, and you're going to go second normally, is it better to turtle up or to go for the aggressive AROs? Now, I know it depends on the mission type, but how and why? Any suggestions?
Because you gave us these questions, I did some research. I
did your own research.
I went and did some reading. And I came across a couple of interesting theories. Now, I kind of agree that in 4th edition, turtling up is generally better for AROs. I don't think that you can have that strong an ARO presence if you're on the first turn, because your opponent's going to get to pick the range, they're going to get to pick the engagements, and they've got every single piece in their army to pick apart your AROs. So even if you have a strong ARO piece, I kind of like one of the things I saw that it's a good idea to hide it because it's worth more in turns 2 and 3 after you've had a chance to take out a couple of the aggressive pieces. Moving your total reaction bot to cover an objective for turn 3 when your opponent's got less options, less orders, it's suddenly a lot bigger problem.
It's definitely an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your thought on it then, Ogre?
Well, a little bit like Storm just said, in N4, it's certainly until the fire teams changed. It was definitely turtle or you're going to get absolutely mashed. But they're probably now, you might have stuff in your army that actually might do okay on ARO. Now there's not people running around with ballistic skill 16, 17, 18, 19. You actually might survive it. So I think now the fire teams have changed, you might actually sneak something out. However, you've got to be prepared for it to die horribly and not do anything. So it's almost the question is, do you need this piece for turn 2 or 3? Or can you leave it out? And if it dies, it dies. You're not going to be too upset. That's my kind of, I always think, if I leave this here and it dies, do I care? Or actually, has it done its job using up orders from the other the opponent?
I kind of agree with you there. I do like to use a remote with HMG, for example. They're not massively expensive. Yeah.
we had picked up on that.
Yeah. And they're not hugely expensive. They're not going to win you the game later on. But if you put them somewhere that it's going to control the board, it forces your opponent to spend orders on them to get rid of it. You might get lucky and take out some of their army. You might get extremely lucky and take out all their army. But or you might get unlucky and dies to first shot, which I think happens more often than not, mind. But I do like to use that, have an ARO piece like a remote with HMG just to kind of slowed the opponent down, because I think if you do turtle up totally, you're allowing your opponent to run riot over the board and get them to a better place.
I think it does depend on your army as well. I think Dailami are a perfect example. Dailami are wonderful ARO pieces because they start off camouflaged. I think they've got Panzerfaust for that long range, and you really don't give a stuff if they die because they're not even giving you a regular order. They're great little ARO pieces. But some factions don't have, a lot of factions don't have a Dailami equivalent. Where this is where things like mines and one of your other questions we're going to get to is about infiltration. Infiltrators in the midfield can be great speed bump AROs, because an ARO piece isn't necessarily going to be good for killing a large chunk of your opponent's army. It's about making them spend orders on stuff they don't want to spend orders on their first turn.
Because I think as well, the classic, when you start playing Infinity, you put everybody out on ARO, because that's kind of one of the big rules. And then you get everybody killed in the first turn. And then the second game, then you turtle everybody, and then you get completely killed because you've not managed to stop them going anywhere. So you need to kind of, somewhere in the middle. And like you say, deny them being able to move places. So you don't maybe need the long range ARO, but you have the shorter range stuff. If you come around a particular corner, you're going to get hit by some stuff, So you kind of limit the movement a little bit.
Mines. Mine layers are great for AROs because you don't care if a mine dies.
No. Poor mines. Or tiger creatures, eh?
I like tiger creatures, can't go wrong. A couple of games I've used them, love them to bits. Close combat mines, basically. Okay, so the answer to turtling up orbit or go aggressive? Yes.
I'm sorry, were you expecting definitive answers that were helpful? If you were expecting definitive, you asked the wrong people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next question, which is when you're going first, you're going first, you're testing up first. How would you specifically set up for an alpha strike? Now, that is with your cheerleaders, your heavy support, your characters, all that kind of thing. What would be going through your mind when you're thinking, right, okay, for this one, I'm going to alpha strike, I'm going to get into that building, I'm going to stay there. What would you be thinking about in your deployment?
I look at the board and work out how I'm going to get my guys from one side of the board to the other, and then where I'm going to kind of pull back to. Because in my experience, the alpha strike, you can go too far and you just leave yourself completely exposed and all your guys get killed. If you've not managed to do enough damage. Because there's obviously, or potential that you could just bounce off the opponent and you don't actually kill what you want to kill. But my thing is I look where I want to move. Because often, the other guy won't be deployed at this point. So you kind of, you have to look and it's look at where he might go. But I always look at just the best routes to get from one place to the other place. And, is the total cover that I can use to hop along? If I've got smoke in my army, the places I can throw smoke that would block all the lines of sight. And I think that's it, really. It's a consideration that obviously when you've made your list about what are you going to use for, your alpha strike. Because a lot of armies have got like loads of people in the midfield, so you don't have to worry so much about moving all the way across the board, but just some way across the board. But that's my thing. I look at how I'm going to get my guys across the board to the other guy and kill as much as possible. Thank you very much.
I think Ogre's pretty much nailed it there. It's not so much how am I going to deal with things I don't know what they're going to be, but how am I going to get from A to B? You know what your pieces are you're going to want to move. You know what they're going to need. They're going to want cover. They're going to want to. Can I get my big tag through that little gap? No, I can't. Right, so there's no point putting my tag on that side. He's going to have to go this way because he's not going to be able to get to where I need him to get to. And again, as Ogre says, it's knowing the pieces in your list you want to attack with. Because if you're planning to attack with a HMG and your opponent brings everything stuck in the middle of the board, that HMG, if he starts moving forward, is going to be in bad range pretty damn quick.
But you don't know what your opponent's bringing so much.
So,
really,
yeah, which is why you need to have a balance as well in your list for your attacking pieces. So if you've only brought HMGs as your attacking pieces, then
who would do that?
I don't know. Well, not you, because you also bring Spitfires, and they cover that short to medium range, and you've always got shotguns. So it's more how am I going to get my guys from A to B without just literally standing in the middle of an open going hello and hoping I win the dice roll, because that doesn't work. Well, it certainly doesn't work every time.
Yeah, not for you. Don't work for you.
Doesn't work for you that often.
No, not really. Okay, so next question would be, What are your golden rules for setting up fire teams?
Don't cluster them all on a corner.
Put them all in a line.
Don't cluster. No. If you're going to be using a fire team as an aggressive thing, you're going to have one piece generally shooting. You don't want everyone else literally right behind him going, "You've got it, you've got it." Well, you know, so when the blast template lands, it catches all the guys behind him who couldn't see it coming. Don't do that.
Also, when you activate the team, they all count as having used an order. So also don't leave them all out so that people can do ARO pot shots at you and shoot the ones that aren't the leader, just because they're just stood there in the open. That would be my thing. And also deploy them within 8 inches of the...
That is the number one golden rule. Deploying within 8 inches of the leader.
Well, if you don't do that, they're not a fire team. So does that thing count? I don't know. Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree though. Yeah, be careful of other lines. So yeah, you may be intending to attack target A, but then the rest of the fire team might also be seen by the sniper on the far side. And just because they're not doing anything doesn't mean you won't shoot them.
And then you have to do the whole leave the fire team, do the thing, redo the, make the fire team back again. And, you've wasted a load of time and orders. Just by a little bit of putting you guys in the wrong place.
Yeah, if your fire team leader can see target A, but target B is obscured, but the guy at the back can be seen by target B, the guy at the back is going to get shot, and that's not a face-to-face roll anymore, which is a problem. So yeah, that's something definitely to keep into consideration.
Right. I mean, you can't check every line of sight from everywhere on the board, so it is easy to get caught out. We've all done it. We'll all do it again.
How do you think I know about it? What I found is prone tokens are our friend. So I often put 2 or 3 of the fire team prone, so they can't be seen. However much I muck it up, at least 3 of them are going to be fine because they're prone. That's a little secret tip for you from...
To survive life, lie down more. That's the advice from us.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Works for me. Okay, so next question. So if you're going to have a couple of key units in your army that are going to get the job done, and when you are setting up, whether you're going first or second, do you bury them right at the back for turn 2 or 3, or do you put them forward and maybe get that ARO piece? So you've got an expensive piece that's got specialist skills, it's got decent weapons, it's got decent armor, it's got specialist equipment, and it's cost you quite a bit of points for these pieces, which we all put them into the armies. Do you bury them or do you put them forward? How far would you risk it? That kind of thing.
My answer to this, now, it would be, I try not to get them killed on the first turn, on the because they become even more powerful and better turn 2 and 3, where potentially a lot of the opponent's models, you've killed a few off for the more problematic things. So if you can keep your best pieces alive until turns 2 and 3, that's a lot better. Unfortunately, you often want to use them to kill, the other guy's stuff as well. So I think don't do anything stupid. Would be my...
If it's something I'm going to rely on in my active turn and I'm going second, I would not put it out to ARO. If it's something like just, let's say it's just a heavy infantry with a machine gun, he's not in a fire team, then what's the point of putting out to ARO? Okay, maybe he's got the armor to probably tank some shots, but he's only have 1 shot back. He's going to be far more useful if I can keep him alive through my first turn, or my first reactive turn, to use him on my first active turn. If it's an active turn piece, I hide it.
Fair enough.
Because if you're going, that gecko, for example, is going to be a real pain if I don't deal with it. If it's in total cover on my side of the board for turn 1, you've got an awful long way to come to deal with that, which is going to take you an awful lot of orders that you're not spending doing something else.
Yeah, don't get them killed doing stupid stuff.
Okay, so next one is, if there's an obvious fire lane on your board, which sometimes there is, and there's HMG at one side, or snipers covering both ends. Would you go for the first order, first turn, face-to-face roll for those two ones, or is there a better option to cover that fire lane? If you know what I mean. Are you with me? So if there's an obvious fire lane, what you do is you put HMG or Spitfire down at one end, and then the other guy will come along and say, well, I might as well put my sniper down, and then you've got two pieces looking at each other and a really long fire lane.
Depends. Do I need to move? Do I need to clear that fire lane? Or can I move around it? Can I tip the fight in my favor? Can I throw a smoke grenade, which my sniper can see through and yours can't? That one, of all the questions you put up, that is the one that is the most. Well, it depends.
I go with if you've got much higher burst, you've got all the pluses and they've got all the minuses, then I would potentially go for it. Otherwise, I just ignore it and go a different way, and let the other guy figure out what he's going to do about it in his turn. Just wander off in a different direction.
It's the kind of thing that it looks like a trap, it smells like a trap, it's probably a trap. They might have a second sniper in hidden deployment that they're just waiting for you to go, I'm going to bring the HMG out and deal with that guy. Oh, rats, I didn't know about that one. I've got to split me burst. I'm not quite in this favourable position I thought I was. I've watched enough John Wayne movies to spot an ambush.
So the advice on that one is ignore it.
I think I would probably ignore it. Unless I had to go down that path for whatever reason.
Admiral Akbar, I believe, isn't it? It's a trap.
Okay, so my last question really for deployment is, what are your golden rules for infiltrators and camo? Also, is there any nuggets of wisdom about hidden deployment? So for me, I'm always kind of cautious when I've got for deployment, I've got camo, I've got hidden deployment, that kind of thing, where to put them, how to work out where it's going to be. So if you've got any nuggets of golden wisdom, let me know.
I like the fact that you're cautious about it. You're the man who plays the Sphinx and the Cutter.
That's because I think they're cool.
So you're always curious and cautious about using hidden deployment, and yet you put a third of your army into tags.
But I never know where to put them.
Oh, okay.
I generally go, there, done.
Excellent. That's pretty much how it looks, actually, when we watch you play.
Yeah.
I think this is about what you're planning on doing with your infiltrators and your camos and things. Because are they there to capture, objectives, do things in the midfield, get on the consoles or whatever? Or are they to annoy the other player? Are they to go on a bit of a wander and a kill? Or is it a mixture of both? Because I think, some of them you can use to, beep boop the console and then wander off and start killing things. I think it's good to have a bit of a mixture of, of a few things that are going to do your objectives, and then a couple of things that are going to, just be there as a bit of an annoyance. So I think the rule is figure out what the guy's supposed to be doing for you, and then, deploy it appropriately. Would you agree?
I think, yeah, for a large part, I'd agree. I'd also say you want to take a good chunk of camo. If you're going to commit to camo, you want to take a good chunk of it, so that you can utilize the fact you've put down 4, 5, 6 camo markers in the middle of the board. Maybe some of them are mines, maybe some of them aren't. It allows you to keep your opponent guessing, which is going to, again, help with your AROs. If your opponent has to spend orders discovering stuff, it's going to slow them down. Hidden deployment wise, it depends on the unit. I like hidden deployment sniper backing up something that looks like a relatively easy ARO piece to get rid of, like a flash pulse bot, because all of a sudden you can throw a second ARO in there and cause your opponent's brain to melt as they work out how to deal with X and Y. So things like Hundun for Eugene are good for that, because the Hundun sniper He's a little bit cheaper than some hidden deployment because he only has normal camo, not -3 millimeters, rather than -6, so he comes in a little bit cheaper. Noctifer obviously is a wonderful example of this type of thing. You move around the corner thinking, I'll deal with that, and it allows me to move up. Oh, where did that missile launcher come from?
It's also the using hidden deployment sometimes, but not all the time. I remember playing Claw, and he was just pretending to look behind buildings to see if he had a line of sight or whatever.
Oh, the mind games, are very important. I would recommend that, like, you should get into the habit of asking your opponent to turn around, even if you haven't got anything with hidden deployment. Even if your army has nothing that has the hidden deployment option.
Yeah.
Because not everyone's going to know what every option in your army is. So if you can make them stop and think, oh, rats, he asked me to turn around, there might be something I don't know about, might make them a bit more cautious.
Yeah, good point. Certainly, Claw is an expert at that kind of thing. He's pulled all those kind of tricks.
I do try. I do try. I've even brought boxes that are normally contained tags with hidden deployment and put them on the side.
Nice.
And they're empty boxes just to play the mind games.
I think, were we not talking about the other week as well about putting models on your tournament tray that aren't really in your army list?
Drop troops are great for that. Whenever I take Ariadne to a tournament, Van Zant's always on my tray. He's not always in the army, but he's always on the tray.
Just there for morale, isn't he?
Well, if you've got any questions about deployment, what to do, how to do it, all that kind of thing, any specific questions, drop them in the comments below, and we'll probably answer them in the next one. In the next
if we've just talked a whole bunch of gibberish for half an hour, then tell us that we talked a whole bunch of gibberish for half an hour.
I must admit, I'm thinking, have we answered anything there? I'm not sure. Or have we just created more questions?
Yes and no. Pretty much.
I think we did pretty good jobs of politicians type answers. I don't think we actually committed to anything.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, so the other thing to chat about is what's dropped today on filming, because it's Wednesday. We've got a studio update with the Durgama takeover online, which I am so looking forward to.
It's been a while since they did one.
I think COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good few years. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we ought to do something on the channel.
We will be doing something. We don't know what yet. If you have any suggestions, again, put them down there.
Yeah, it's because I think we actually filmed something for the last one.
I'm fairly certain that's why I have a YouTube profile.
All right, wow. Was it Wotan, the last one, or was that the one before? I can't remember.
I'm thinking.
Flamia was the first one. Wasn't Wotan the second one? Wasn't there another one after that?
I don't know.
Set on Dawn with something or other.
I'm sure the collective intelligence will let us know in the comments below.
Big write-up. So yeah, we'll hopefully do something with that. I think we've all got combined as well, isn't it? So that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, because we need to win the combined army one, apparently. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Right. And with that, thanks for watching. Join us on the next one, and I'll say goodbye and let my friends say goodbye too, because I'm like that.
Cheers, guys. Catch you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Goodbye too. Yeah.
Right, I'm recording on my camera.
Folk.
I am recording on my camera.
It's filtered through. You are now recording.
Exactly.
What's the joke? Name your favourite vampire. The one off Sesame Street. He doesn't count. I assure you, he does.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. It all helps to keep us motivated and raises the profile of our channel and Infinity the game, bringing it to a wider audience. And don't forget, if you're so inclined, you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you.